frame buildings, plane frames, space frames, skeleton frames, frame buildings, plane frames. These are fabricated in a flat plane and are usually called trusses or girders according to their elevation shape. They are designed as a series of connected rigid triangles which gives a lightweight structural member using the minimum amount of material. What are the main uses? Roof construction and long span beams of light loading, frame buildings, space frames. Space frame systems are three-dimensional structures which are constructed by connecting straight tubular struts to each others with the use of solid spherical hubs. Frame buildings, space frames. Because of the space frame systems are three-dimensional structures which work in two directions, for a large spans it provides economical solutions. It is possible to cover spans up to 100 m without column by using space frame systems. They provide a great flexibility in the selection of support locations and allows to apply for different geometrical shapes, areas. The design, manufacture, installation process is completed in a very short interval due to the use of prefabricated components, frame buildings, space frames. Transporting to far distances is provided easily due to the use of prefabricated components. Space frame systems are lighter than traditional steel and reinforced concrete structures. Therefore, it provides significant economy in foundation costs. Space frame systems are the most useful structures for the earthquake areas due to their light unit weight. It is not necessary to cover by hung ceilings because of its aesthetic appearance. Frame buildings, space frames. Additional structures to support the heating, ventilating, electrical and other systems are not required for space frame structures, as they can be hung from the structure. Because of the aesthetic attribute, space frames are very suitable for glass or polycarbonate skylights. It provides various alternative solutions in architectural areas for complex geometrical shapes, pyramid, triangle, dome, barrel vault etc. Frame buildings, skeleton frames. Basically, these are a series of rectangular frames placed at right angles to one another so that the loads are transmitted from member to member until they are transferred through the foundations to the subsoil. Skeleton frames can be economically constructed of concrete or steel or a combination of the two. The choice of material for a framed structure can be the result of a number of factors such as site conditions, economics, availability of labor and materials, time factor, statutory regulations, capital costs, maintenance costs and personal preference. Portal frames. Portal frames are generally low-rise structures, comprising columns and horizontal or pitched rafters, connected by moment-resisting connections. Can be constructed from timber, glulam, steel, concrete, eaves beams, cladding rails. Key term: portal, a large gateway or doorway. Glulam, a process of gluing timber strips together to form a solid beam within a mold. Portal frames. Working in groups of 2/3, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using portal frames? What are the advantages? Large spans can be achieved. Speedily erected. Factory-produced quality. Easily extended and adapted. Good height to strength ratio. Lighter foundations than traditional construction. What are the disadvantages? Require fire protection coating. Require coating to prevent rust if constructed from steel. External coatings have to be maintained. Timber-framed construction. Substructure. Piled and raft foundations are also suitable below timber framing. The foundations can take a variety of forms: traditional strip, trench fill, piles or rafts. Timber-framed construction. Timber panels typically made from 100 mm by 50 mm softwood carcass, with a plywood sheet nailed to it. Why? Timber-framed construction. The upper floors of timber-framed houses are supported by the wall panels. No building load is carried by the brick outer leaf, the most common form of cladding. The floor itself is not much different from a timber floor in a brick/block house. The main difference is the way the joists are supported. Until recently, the most common type of floor comprised a series of softwood joists. Nowadays it's more likely to be metal web joists. Timber-framed construction. The roof usually takes the form of prefabricated trusses and is virtually the same as a brick and block house. In fact, it's only by getting into the roof space that you can easily tell if a modern house is timber-framed or not. In some developments, the roof is constructed on the ground and lifted into place by crane. When the roof is felted, work can continue inside the house. The brick face work, the normal finish, does not form part of the critical path. Timber-framed construction. Load-bearing. Timber panels. Cladding. Non-load-bearing. Is brickwork a good cladding material? Why do we use it? Timber-framed construction. Brickwork, however, is not necessarily the most practical cladding, for three main reasons. Its weight means it cannot be supported by the timber frame and therefore requires a foundation. A freestanding wall would soon buckle and bulge in high winds, so it must be restrained by the timber frame. The method of restraint, wall ties, must allow for differential movement between the brickwork and timber. Timber-framed buildings. Working in groups of 2/3, what are the advantages of using timber frame buildings? Advantages? Timber frame offers a genuinely sustainable method of construction. Environmentally friendly, high thermal insulation reduces burning fossil fuel. Lightweight construction. Not weather dependent. Removes brickwork from the critical path. Reduces drying out time. Improves quality. Reduces waste. Less site handling of materials. Timber frame buildings. Working in groups of 2/3, what are the disadvantages of using timber frame buildings? Disadvantages? Additional design and engineering time up front. Potential lack of experienced builders and erection crews and following trades. Transportation and carriage access. Site storage. Exposure to weather before enclosed. Susceptibility to decay of timber when exposed to excessive moisture. Kit houses. This video illustrates a kit house which is built in as little as 5 days. Huff House is a company from Germany that puts these luxury houses together as a kit, which are energy-saving and constructed in a sustainable way from prefabricated sections. Click here. Concrete frames. What are the advantages? Inbuilt fire protection. Can be molded into any shape. High strength in compression. Does not require a secondary finish. Fast construction period using precast. Variety of surface treatments can be achieved. In situ. Precast. What are the disadvantages? Require support, shuttering, initially. Craneage required. Poor strength in tension. Highly skilled workforce to assemble. Steel-framed buildings. Comprised a series of beams and columns. May be composite in design. E.g. use concrete floor. Often a mixture of two technologies, roofs. What forms can roofs take?